I am excited! The Women's Prize for Non-Fiction Longlist is going to be announced in like 2 weeks on the 15th of February, and I am super excited for it. If you are unaware of the Women's Prize for Non-Fiction, that's because this is its first year. Exciting! And so the Women's Prize Corporation, mothership, are branching out, and alongside their prize for fiction, they are also doing a prize for non-fiction, where they will be longlisting 16 books and then shortlisting 6 and announcing a winner. So as I said, the long list will come out on the 15th of Feb, and then I can't remember the dates after that, but I'll put a graphic up so you can see. I love a bit of non-fiction, but I don't think I'd realised until I started researching for this video non-fiction by women that has been released between the 1st of April 23 and the 31st of March 24, how much of a sausage fest this is. Honestly, almost every list that you look at of best fiction of 2023 or best fiction coming in 2024, like 80% of it is written by men. Like, honestly, I was like, I'd look through these lists and I was like, man. So where are all the women? So this is going to be a fabulous prize. I really don't know what Reedy's doing. Oh, he's just stolen Nanny Plum. I can't remember what I was saying, just had to sort the dog out. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what comes up, because I have got a list of 16. Most of them are pretty well known, and I'm really hoping that the Women's Prize throws up a load of stuff that I'd never heard of. So yes, in case you didn't get it, I'm predicting the 16 long-listed books. So let's just get straight in with my first prediction. So my first one is The Night Parade by Jami Nakamura Lin, which was published in October 2023. And this is a speculative memoir akin to In the Dream House, which was like massive on BookTube a few years ago. I still haven't gotten to it, it's on my list. But in this, Lin is looking at grief and mental illness through the lens of the Japanese myth, The Night Parade of 100 Demons, which I'm unfamiliar with, but sounds like a really interesting way to sort of structure a memoir. And I am generally not a memoir person, but there are a few out there that sort of break the mould that I think are really interesting, and this is one of them. So you won't see a lot of memoirs on my list. I think this is what is going to make it really difficult to predict what's on the long list, because everyone has their own jam, right, when it comes to non-fiction. And so anything that I thought vaguely sounded like a boring topic got scratched off. A lot of memoirs just went straight off the bat. There's a lot of American non-fiction as well that's focused on American history, and you know, we're not going to want 16 books about American history. So yeah, anyway, that's a tangent. Second prediction. The Black Angels, the untold story of the nurses who helped cure tuberculosis by Maria Smilios, which was published in September 2023. And in this, we're looking at New York City, 1929, before antibiotics were about, and TB was killing 1 in 7. And there's a specific hospital, Seaview Hospital, in New York, and basically all the white nurses quit because they didn't want to catch TB, and the government then incentivized black nurses from the South to come up, escape the Jim Crow situation that was going on down there, give them a load of money and put them in this TB hospital. And really they were the backbone of breaking the tuberculosis pandemic at the time. So it's an area of history I'm not familiar with. I find medicine in general quite interesting. And then when you sort of overlay that with the racial tensions of the time, I think it could be a really, really interesting book. Then I have How to Say Babylon by Safiya Sinclair, which was published in October 23. This is another memoir, even though I just told you I don't read many memoirs. But this one sounded really interesting. It's about Sinclair's childhood, growing up in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Montego Bay, and what it was like for her to grow up under the regime of a radical Rastafarian father. I have dabbled a little bit in the Rastafarian sort of history when I read Kai Miller's Things We Have Withheld a few years ago. But it's definitely something I'm more interested in and would like to learn more about. So I think that would be a great addition to the long list. Then some hardcore history, and we have Emperor of Rome by Mary Beard. Mary Beard is like prolific in Roman and Greek history. She really dominates the space, and I think it would be remiss of the Women's Prize to leave her off the list. This really just spotlights a load of Roman emperors over the years. I don't know much about them outside of sort of Marcus Aurelius and Julius Caesar. So yeah, I think it will be a really interesting book and probably one that I'll pick up regardless of whether it is longlisted. My fifth guess is Move Like Water, a story of the sea and its creatures by Hannah Stowe. Stowe is a marine biologist, and within this book she is documenting her experience. I think she grew up in Wales, and she is also a sailor, and so she's sort of documenting what it has been like for her out on the sea, and I guess some of the things she's learned from that. So that sounds very good. Then I have Eve by Kat Bohannon. How the Female Body Drove 200 Million Years of Evolution, which was also published in October 2023. And this looks through history to sort of work out why it is that women have evolved in the way that they have, which is very differently to the way that men have evolved. And it looks at everything from life expectancy, academic ability, the menopause, etc., etc., to sort of document why there are these differences between the two sexes. And yeah, I think it sounds good. Then I have Opinions, A Decade of Arguments, Criticism and Minding Other People's Business by Roxanne Gay. Roxanne Gay is pretty well known in the non-fiction circles as well. She's a pretty big hitter. And this is an essay collection. I think it's a collection of Roxanne Gay's sort of pieces that she wrote for the New York Times. And it's really just like a decade's worth of her work in essay format. I love an essay collection, so I'm really hoping that we get at least one on the list. Then I have The 7 Wonders of the Ancient World by Bettany Hughes, which was published in January 2024, so a recent release. And this is looking at the 7 wonders of the world, both from an ancient and a modern lens, and sort of asking what about them captured the minds, hearts, souls of humanity's imagination, I suppose. What left us with a sense of wonder. So yeah, that one's on my list. Then I have Some People Need Killing, a memoir of murder in the Philippines by Patricia Evangelista. And Evangelista is a journalist, and she chronicles 6 years worth of life in the Philippines, talking to everyone from survivors to murderers under the Duterte campaign or regime. So yeah, I know very little about the Philippines politics. I did look it up a little bit when I saw this book, and it looks pretty brutal. They have a pretty unworkable system against drug crime in that country. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what Evangelista has collated and what that looks like. Then a book that's getting so much hype, Doppelganger by Naomi Klein, that came out in September 2023. And this is Klein discovering that a woman who looks like her and has her name, but has very concerning political leanings, is getting mistaked for her. And it's her sort of almost stalking this woman to find out what she's doing, what's going on, and how she can maybe not be confused with this potentially psychopathic woman. So yeah, that's getting loads of hype everywhere. I would be surprised if that doesn't make the list. 11th, and one that I've been wanting to get to for a very long time, since it was released in May 2023, is Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. And this is very much looking at the Me Too movement and the cancel culture that we're experiencing, and whether we can or should or could separate art from artist, and what that looks like, and sort of discussing that. And I think it's a topic that comes up frequently on BookTube. I mean, you just have to look around at the fact that nobody talks about J.K. Rowling anymore. She has been completely cancelled, really, from the BookTube world. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what discussion is being had around that area, because I think it's really interesting. Then, an author that I think is a shoo-in, because she has been nominated for the Fiction Prize many a time, and that is Natalie Haynes and Divine Might, which is a look at Greek goddesses and how they've been portrayed in myth, and how maybe there's a more feminist angle to be had. I really enjoyed her book Pandora's Jar, which was similar, looking at women in Greek myth, and I really, really enjoyed that book. So I'm hoping this is just going to be more of the same. Then a bit of a random one that I found on my searches. The Dictionary People, the unsung heroes who created the Oxford English Dictionary, by Sarah Ogaloo, which was published in September 2023. And this is a deep dive into some of the more surprising contributors to the Oxford English Dictionary. So it wasn't just done by scholars in Oxford. All sorts of people contributed to it. Murderers, vicars, even a vegetarian. So yeah, I'm really interested to see. Sorry if you can hear snuffling. Rudy's right next to the mic. I'm really interested to see if that's good or not. It could be really dry, but I feel like if you're a bookish person, you kind of like to know stuff about like the origin of words, right? Anyway, next we have A History of Women and 101 Objects by Annabel Hirsch, and it literally is what it says on the tin. She looks back through the history of women looking at different objects, and we have everything from the Bayeux tapestry to a 16th century glass dildo. So yeah, glass dildo, count me in. Next, a very different kind of book. We have A Nasty Little War, The West's Fight to Reverse the Russian Revolution by Anna Reid, which was published in November 23. And this is looking at the conflict, the 18-month conflict that happened after World War I, that was spearheaded by Britain to sort of stop Russia sort of infiltrating south into Europe. And the effects of that, because I didn't even know that happened. I did not carry on history after GCSE, but it obviously caused like a lot of trauma. There was starvation and destruction, obviously a lot of death that occurred on the back of that campaign, and it sort of looks into that in more detail. So I think that sounds really interesting too. And then my last guess is Exhausted, an A to Z for the Weary, which was published just in January this year, and is a collection of science, medicine, literature and philosophy, which helps us understand sort of why our generation in particular, particularly post-pandemic, is really suffering from burnout, and maybe what we can do about it. And I think it's very topical at the moment. I think a lot of people have experienced burnout, are experiencing burnout. A lot of us want to do all of the things all of the time, and you know, where has that come from, and how do we tackle it? I think it's pretty current. So I'd like to see a book like that, if not that exact book, on the list. And that is my 16. So I'd love to know, A, if you have read any of these, because I haven't read any of them. If there's any that you think I've really, really missed, I'd love to know as well. Also, just a little announcement for you. The Women's Prize Plod Along is back in February, and we will be kicking off with our reaction to the non-fiction long list. The long list comes out on the 15th, and we will be doing a live on the 16th. So that will be on my channel. Come along, join me, Alice from Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, and Charlie from Charlie Book Reads, my beautiful, fabulous co-hosts, as we discuss those 16 books. And we would love to have your reaction to them too. So yes, very much looking forward to that. If you have a vested interest in non-fiction and want to see what my favourites were from 2023 that I read, I will leave that video here, and I will catch you all very soon with another one. Bye guys.